Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today's episode, Real Estate Success in the New Year.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam. I'm glad you joined me today for this episode, Real Estate Success in the New Year. I hope you had a great New Year's Day yesterday. Lots of football, lots of hanging out with people. I hope you did something fun. And this obviously is the first podcast of the new year. But after getting some feedback from the last podcast, I want to add some navigational tips to your roadmap for success in 2025. Kind of fill in some of the gaps and holes for us real estate investors. Had some great questions. Do some little bit more specific, because in the last episode, we discussed the importance of making resolutions and setting goals. Well, today, the rubber meets the road. This is the new year. This is when we're now on our resolution venture. This is on our 2025 goals journey here. And it's common, to get asked, for example, how am I going to do this? How am I going to really make these things work? Because these things that we resolve to do, these goals that we make, they're really like having a baby, if you think about it. They need to be nourished. They need to be given attention. They need to be corrected, and they need to be grown. And we have to treat our resolutions and our goals as if they're just like a baby, because if we don't, unfortunately, they won't grow. They will become malnourished and they will wither. And literally, the resolutions and goals will die. And we do not want that to happen. We want your goals and resolutions to fully grow up. I touched on 5 areas that every investor should have written resolutions or goals for going into the new year. So I hope that you have those. And I'm going to cover some examples about those. And I've hoped that you've really taken this seriously and you've actually written them down in all of the areas. The first thing that I talked about was spiritual goals. Now, remember, we're business people. We're real estate investors. We're not all pastors, clerics, or priests. Your goals in this area should be about what you do or how you change to help others. Obviously, if you're a pastor, your goal in this area of spiritual is probably going to be different than a real estate investor, but the purpose is the same. It's about how we can change ourselves to help out others. For me, personally, that means I spend time reading, I spend time meditating, and praying for a specific purpose. And so when I work out my goals, when I write them down, inside, whether it's a journal like this, or whether it's on my cell phone, whether you have a day timer, however you do that, or if you get on your computer and just type out all of your goals, you need to list it out. And for me, I've taken time to do that for my spiritual growth in the area of meditating and reading. And for me, it's books that help me with where I'm going and the Bible because of what I do, and take time for prayer. So I have to set goals for how am I going to allot a part of my day towards this. So my goal would read something like this. I spend X minutes reading and meditating at X AM or PM, and I do this X times a day a week. So for instance, I spend 15 minutes reading and meditating at 5 a.m., and I do this, 7 days a week, or 3 days a week, or once a week. Whatever your goal is, in order to improve yourself, you need to write it down and make it specific. And that's how I do it. And you can make yours as long or short. Your goal, remember, is something that we want to be big but obtainable. So if you put down like, hey, I'm going to spend an hour a day reading self-help books at 7 p.m., that may be tough for most people to obtain, reading from 7 to 8 at night, an hour every day, 7 days a week. Now, for some other people, it may not be a problem. Some people are readers and they have that time allotted, but you need to make something that'll help you grow on the inside of you. And you don't have to be a religious person to set up spiritual goals. Just align them with how you want to better your fellow man and work towards that goal. So whatever you consider yourself, whether you consider yourself a Christian or a Hindu or an atheist, it doesn't matter. You can help make this world better by setting some time aside to change how we can help our fellow man. Now, I think, in the United States of America, no matter what, race, creed, color, religion, any of that we do a really good job as Americans. When we have tragedies, we see Americans step up and help Americans. We don't ask, what's your religion? We don't ask if you believe in God or don't believe in God. But we have this belief in country, which means in our fellow man. But we have to better ourselves so that we're in a position to be able to find opportunities in order to be helpful to our fellow man. And whether that means growing so that you become more diligent at helping the homeless or maybe working at some time in a food bank, you set your spiritual goals so that they align with your overall life goals. Number 2 we talked about is setting personal goals. See, and people seem to get stuck on this one quite a bit. But personal goals could involve hobbies. So your personal goal may be to start a new hobby, just so you have some personal time to just kind of think by yourself, time to act by yourself. And when I say yourself, it could be with a friend, it could be with buddies or, just a group of friends. This could be, hey, I'm setting a goal to be part of a book club. I want to join a group that reads specific books just for the fellowship and because that's how I want to better myself. That's how I want to experience joy in life. It could also involve toys. And what I've noticed is the older we get, the more expensive our toys seem to become. But a personal goal could involve some toys. My title says, these are personal. Okay, so number 2 is personal. That's the title of this goal thing. And so you don't want to be ashamed about the things that are important to you because we want to work towards achieving these things. So they need to be important to you. As long as they don't harm others, they can fit into anything into this personal category that betters us. It is not selfish to reward yourself for your hard work as a real estate investor. It's okay. Sometimes we think that, our reward is just money, but what is good of money if it's not bringing some kind of personal satisfaction into our life through the things that we obtain or the things that we do? These goals, these personal goals can keep you motivated towards other goals. Let me give you an example. Here's a simple one. Here's a simple personal goal. I will go to the batting cage 1 time a month. All right. So this one is actually something that I haven't reduced to goal form yet, but I'm sure kicking it around in the back of my head. Last Christmas, not the Christmas before last. So, we just had Christmas a little over a week ago, but the Christmas before that, which would have been 2023's Christmas, somebody gave me 2 gift cards to a batting cage, which I have not used yet. And I still have my batting helmet, my batting gloves, and several baseball bats. And I was thinking of, hey, what would be kind of a fun thing to do from time to time? So a simple goal for me on the personal level would be I will go to the batting cage 1 time a month. Then what would I do? I'd get out my calendar and I would calendar it in. And I would set that goal down. and make sure that I've got everything in place. It's written now, it's calendared so that I can have that. Here's what I know about when I go to the batting cage, that I always have a lot of fun doing it. It's enjoyable for me. It's relaxing for me. I expend a lot of energy doing it, and it can break up. It doesn't matter what kind of battles I'm fighting. I used to do this quite often. It's just, when I needed, kind of that stress reliever in my life, I just go to the batting cage. But I can turn that now into a goal for some enjoyment personally. Here's a more complex one. How about I take my dream vacation? Okay, so that's a real high-level goal. I take my dream vacation. So now break that all down, write it all out, all the vacation details. What does that mean to you? All the places that you're going to visit on this dream vacation, all the activities that you want to do on this dream vacation, and break this all out and make this a goal with objectives. And what do I need to do in order to be ready to fulfill that personal goal? Be careful not to drag business and financial goals into this area. It's very easy to do, to try to mix the two, but try to keep your business and financial goals on a separate level. Number 3, family goals. And I know this has been a struggle for several people. And so let me just kind of break this down a little bit too. What do you want your relationships with others to look like? Do you want, maybe you have a sibling that you've had some conflict with. Do you want your relationship to always be one of conflict, or do you see a relationship where there's some goodwill? In just a couple of months, my wife and I will celebrate our 40 years of marriage. It'll be our 40th wedding anniversary. So when I look at family goals, what do I want to do looking 40 more years into the future, have our marriage look like? What are some of those goals so that we can continue to experience a long, healthy relationship? So I have goals related to keeping my relationship with her, and I have written those down. And so I think it's important that, whatever it is you're talking about doing, building a better relationship with a sibling, building a relationship with a significant other, as a fiance, a wife, a husband, whatever it happens to be, we need to write those down. If you want to have better family outcomes, create better family goals. One of the reasons why a lot of times our relationships and our family relationships are in such a mess is because we really don't have any goals. We're just going through life hoping that it all works out, hoping that we can figure it out down the line. And my wife and I did this with our children when they were growing up. We helped to develop goals for raising our children. So here's an example. If you have a strained relationship with a family member, then set goals of restoration. You say, well, how do you do that? Well, let's just say I want to restore my relationship with my sister. Whatever happened in the past, there's a relationship. It may start by you having to call and ask for forgiveness, which is why we set goals in our spiritual area to work on our inside so that we realize that whether we were right or wrong, sometimes we need to be the one to reach out and to better somebody else's life by taking the first step. Set a goal to restore that. It may require that. Pick up the phone, maybe set a goal and then put on your calendar, I'm going to call my sister once a month, once a week, once a quarter, twice this year. I'm going to call her at every holiday. Whatever it is, set a goal that will help restore that relationship. Maybe send a gift card. Maybe you're going to send a gift card 3 or 4 times a year to them, or just a greeting card. Hey, I was thinking about you. Love your brother. Whatever it is. So the other thing is, as far as for setting goals for our children, you can set goals for providing specific education for your children. Maybe right now your kids are in public school, but you have a goal of getting them a better or a different type of education. Maybe you want your kids to have a military education or religious education or whatever it is. Set goals for how that will happen, how you will get your kids from where they are into where they they want to be. Maybe you want to get them into an elite school. Maybe they are overachieving in the public education system and you need to get them into an advanced placement school. Well, set goals for how to do that to give your children the opportunities that will benefit them. If you have a specific goal for developing lifelong relationships, write it down. So for instance, if you're desiring for a spouse or significant other, write some specific goals down. It's okay to have expectations for the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Don't just, have some kind of meet cute or happenstance put you together, and then 3 years down the road, you find out that you are completely incompatible. You don't like each other. You don't like each other's family. You don't like anything about you. Set some specific goals so when you meet that person, you can now start talking about what's important to you, and hopefully they will have done the same thing, and you can work through all those issues before you get into a solid relationship. So we can work on these family goals and write them down and develop them so that we can experience the blessings of long and healthy relationships. Number 4, health goals. This time of year, this is always at the top of the list. Here we are right after New Year's, and people are heading to the gyms. They're heading, they're buying broccoli and spinach and asparagus, and they're gonna make a go of it. But also, this is the goals that get abandoned the fastest. And I always talk about having big goals. However, big goals are achieved by completion of many objectives along the way. And so when we set these goals in the area for our health, let's realize that though we may have big goals, if we set smaller objectives, we'll start to take bits and chunks out of getting to our goals. We'll start taking steps to it. And here's a health goal completion secret. If your goal is to lose 50 pounds in a year, then break it down to losing 1 pound a week, right? There's 52 weeks in a year. Make your goal smaller, break it down. Because if you're always looking at trying to lose 50 pounds, it's this huge thing and you will get exhausted. It gets too big to lift. But if you break it down into smaller portions, you're going to have great weeks, you're going to have some setback weeks, but you're always going to be moving forward towards obtaining your goal. If your goal is to run a marathon and you're not currently running, start by working up to a mile, then 2, then 5. Don't go out and try to run 26 miles on your first time out. After a week or 2 of doing that, you're going to go, I just can't do it. There's no way. But if you set your goal at running a marathon and then start taking smaller objectives of, get to where you can run a mile, then you run 2 miles, then run 5 miles, and work your way. And each time you will be working your way towards getting healthier towards your goal. Celebrate your accomplishments at each step along the way. Now, if your goal is to lose 50 pounds, celebrating your accomplishment does not mean going out and eating 2 large pizzas. Right? But find something that would celebrate it. Go to a game arcade. Go to a football or baseball game. Take that as your celebration. Go to the beach. Go do something fun to celebrate your win. Most people quit because their goal or resolution looks unobtainable after putting in their max effort. So we want to break those goals down and take them chunk by chunk and celebrate the wins and victories along the way. Number 5 is business and financial goals. This is unfortunately where most real estate investors start and end with their resolution and goal setting. It's with their financial goals. They end up unfulfilled. They end up feeling more selfish, in divorces, and unhealthy, but they obtain some money. They obtain some things. They obtain some possessions in life. But the whole rest of their life is out of whack because they never took time to set spiritual goals, personal goals, family goals, or health goals. They were just always chasing money, chasing things, chasing objective. What is the good of all of the money if you had all of the money in the world, but the rest of your life was a disaster? So let's focus this in order, but let's set goals that are big financial goals, but also let's set objectives to get there. See, on the other end of the spectrum, we also run into is the real estate investor who doesn't set any goals or abandons their resolutions. We need to set these business and financial goals, but we also have to be the person that takes time to set them, because there's a lot of real estate investors out there who don't set goals. They come into our coaching program, they have no goals, they don't know how to set goals. So I'm hoping that this is going to be helpful, especially this practical application after the first of the year. As I said last week, let's make them big. And as with health goals particularly, break them into smaller objectives that once achieved, you get closer to your big goal. Let me give you an example. If you were setting a goal to have a 20% increase in the number of homes that you flipped in the year, or maybe add 10% more rental doors to your rental prospectus, the smaller objective may be to submit 5 additional offers each week, or make maybe 30 more phone calls each week, or knock on 10 more doors each week. The small objectives are more obtainable and more measurable. And from the results of the objectives, you can adjust them up or down depending on the rates of success you're having towards your big goal. And remember to celebrate your small wins. Here are some small tips to help you with obtaining goals. Tip 1, make sure you have them written down. I have mine recorded to audio also. Not only written, but I record them to audio. So even if I'm driving in my car, I can listen to them. My written ones, you can pull up and read them. I have them on my phone. I have them on my computer. They're written down. I can read them or I can listen to them. And I can verify that I'm staying focused on my goals. Tip number 2, be quick to adjust your resolutions and goals. Better to adjust than abandon something that was important enough to have been written down. Tip number 3, continue to work every day on your resolutions and goals. In fact, it's because of this, I've invited a friend to come and help us advance this topic later in the month. Achieving your goals is very important. I want to see all your goals reached and not abandoned this year. Tip number 4, schedule attainment rewards. When you accomplish a goal, celebrate the achievement. That's all we have for this week's Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. I want to thank you for taking time to join me today. I invite you to subscribe today and be part of our growing community. And please leave us a review. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can always find the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our iHeart Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. This is Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join me on the next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.